Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and I just got back from the new film Identity Thief. A man named Sandy Bigelow Patterson who has his identity stolen by Melissa McCartney. To get back his good name and get back his amazing new job as a financial analyst or vice president of a financial firm, he has to go and find Melissa McCartney and bring her back to clear his good name and have her arrested so he can not have tons of debt and get his job back and get his small family and himself back on track. Identity Thief is a lot like The Watch because it's combining the Apatow style and his 80s comedy style, and that's kind of a flawed theory. 80s comedies is a film that had a lot of production and a lot of writers on it. It was very much perfected film, and they worked a long time on it, and they might have shot for 2 or 3 months. And then you look at the Apatow style, which is like, let's shoot in 30 days, let's not do a lot of takes, let's be heavy on improv, let's not make this a particularly well-made comedy. In its theory and in its really the foundation of what they're doing here is really flawed, and it just doesn't really work for the movie because you can't really combine those two. Seth Gordon couldn't really find a good middle ground with those two theories to make like one cohesive film. When you look at Seth Gordon and you look at his filmography, this is probably his best of his comedies. His first two mainstream big star comedies with Four Christmases and Horrible Bosses were both really bad movies. I think this is a step up from both of them. None of them are as good as his first film, King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters, which is a really great movie. And the reason that Seth Gordon got a job in the first place because Vince Vaughn saw King of Kong, was like, oh, this is a perfect 3-act Hollywood movie. This guy could be a Hollywood director. And in theory, and the theory behind King of Kong really works for it, to take a documentary and basically make it like in a 3-act format and make it like a major Hollywood film. And even I thought Seth Gordon could make, big Hollywood comedies and would work out fairly well. But I've never seen them have the strong foundation, the theory behind it the way his documentary did. King of Kong had a strong sense of what it was trying to do with its storytelling technique. Four Christmases just looks like it's haphazard and messy. Same with Horrible Bosses, and same with Identity Thief. He doesn't seem to really want to do the work to make this, have a strong theory behind it that made his first film, King of Kong, so special. It always feels rushed and not very well thought out. Things are underexplained, and there's a lot of bad ADR in this movie. It just looked like clumsily made. The way we make comedies now, or especially mainstream comedies and especially Universal Pictures, is they make these very cheap, quickly shot comedies, and sometimes they work, and other times they just flounder. I think it's just because comedy is something you really have to work at and hone, and that's something that those 80s films knew very well. And then you look at Identity Thief and it just doesn't really seem to understand that. It doesn't really get why those 80s films were what they were, and why they had to work on them for so long. And look at a film like Groundhog Day. I wonder what Groundhog Day would be made like now, and I don't think it would be made with the same love and Hollywood professionalism that they used to, and now it just feels like very rushed. I like Melissa McCartney. I think she's a great comedian. I don't think they let her do the go for broke physical style that she's really good at, the way she did in Bridesmaids. I kind of would prefer seeing something like that in here. She has enough charm and has the comedic skills. I mean, she was a groundling after all, to really even get through something like this. Jason Bateman is just playing the same notes over and over again. I don't feel like he's doing anything different anymore. He's just taking his character from Arrested Development and doing it over and over and over again. And at this point, it just feels tired and dull. I liked him in Arrested Development, but I've seen that character so many times that it doesn't even look like he's interested in doing it anymore. He's like almost on autopilot, doing this preppy, caring dad character. I think the only film I really liked that character in, other than Arrested Development, was Extract. I like Robert Patrick. It was kind of funny seeing T.I. in a comedy, but everyone just felt underused. One of the other things with Seth Gordon, I think, is that he just puts way too many people in the cast. Like, if you look at Horrible Bosses, there's just all these really talented people in his movies, but he just doesn't seem to know what to do with them. He seems to be able to work with a few characters, and then he puts a ton of other actors in here, and talented actors, and people with presence. If you had just Jason Bateman and Melissa McCartney in this movie, I think this would be a lot stronger of a film. But because he keeps cutting to all these different various stupid storylines he's got going on, it just dilutes the film to a point that it's just not even that compelling. And the fact that this film, isn't that funny. He gets lost in everything he's trying to do to it. And I really wish he'd just sit down and look at King of Kong and look like there was a theory behind that documentary, and it really worked out in the end. And there are people who won't really get into documentaries who'll watch King of Kong, and that was the genius behind behind it. And I look at all of his comedies, and he's just a bad comedy director. He's very much a modern crap comedy director. He's the worst to come out of this whole Apatow influence. I don't think it's funny. I think it's ultimately very flawed. He's such an awful director. So if you have seen Identity Thief and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments, and subscribe if you would like to.